In the dark halls of the royal warship Zarathian, the alien queen Zelthara sat on her throne. Her silver crown glowed under the cold blue lights. Her 6 eyes scanned the star map before her, showing every planet her empire controlled. Her voice echoed across the chamber. "And Earth?" she asked, her tone calm but sharp. A tall commander stepped forward. His skin was pale blue, and his armor was covered in battle scars. "Still unclaimed, my queen. A backwater world." "No resistance expected." Zelthara leaned forward. "No resistance? That world fought off a galactic force 2 centuries ago. I've read the reports. Do you believe them?" The commander chuckled lightly. "With respect, my queen, those are just old stories. Legends told by broken species. They say humans fight like devils, that they never surrender. But we have no proof, no real footage. Only damaged records and myths." "Exactly," she said. "That's what makes them dangerous. Myths hold power." The room fell silent. She stood and walked toward the window, looking out into the stars. "I do not fear weapons. I fear the unknown." A second commander stepped forward. "Shall I send scouts to observe the planet?" Zelthara shook her head. "No, I want to know the truth, not shadows. There's a human colony on the outer rim, one of the last. Small, weak. Send a strike team, quietly. Capture one alive." "Yes, my queen." As the soldiers left the chamber, Zelthara whispered to herself, "Let's see if the stories are true." 3 days later, planet Virion 9, human colony. The sun was setting over the quiet valley. Birds flew across the pink sky. Children laughed near the river. It was peaceful. Commander Rain stood alone on the hill, watching the horizon. His face was weathered, his beard short, and his eyes cold and focused. He wore simple clothes, but hidden beneath them was an armor of old war. He had once led armies across the stars. Now he was just a farmer, or so everyone thought. A buzzing sound echoed from above. Rain turned his head slightly. Ships. He didn't move. He didn't panic. He simply walked back to his home. Inside, he opened a hidden door beneath the floorboards. There, sealed in a black case, was his past-his-old helmet, his plasma rifle, and a small metal badge marked Black Sun Unit, Human Defense Corps. He sighed. So, they finally remembered. The alien strike team landed near the village silently. 10 elite warriors. They moved like shadows, scanning for human signs. One of them paused. "Life forms detected. Small group. Capture the strongest, eliminate the rest." But before they could move, something hit the leader in the chest. A blast, clean and precise. He fell without a sound. Enemy fire. One screamed. Another one was pulled into the trees. No gunfire. Just silence. The team spread out, but one by one, they vanished. No signs, no noise. Just gone. Back in the Queen's warship, a red alarm rang. A message had arrived from the strike team's ship. It was short. Just 2 words. "Send more." Zelthara read it twice. Her expression didn't change. But her eyes narrowed. "Play surveillance feed," she ordered. A shaky video appeared on screen. One of the alien soldiers was running, breathing fast. He turned the camera to show something behind him, a figure in black armor, human shape. Helmet cracked, glowing eyes visible. Then dash static. The feed ended. Silence filled the war room. One of the generals spoke, his voice trembling. "That armor, it's from the old Earth Wars." Zelthara said nothing. Then she turned slowly and whispered, "So, the legends breathe." Back on Virion 9, Rain stood beside the destroyed alien ship. Smoke rose from the wreckage. He looked at the bodies around him, then at the sky. He knew this was just the beginning. "They'll send more," he muttered. He walked away, disappearing into the forest. The forest was quiet after the battle. Only the wind moved through the tall red trees, carrying with it Smell of smoke and metal. Broken pieces of alien armor lay scattered across the dirt, and blood-green and thick-stained the leaves. Rain moved through the shadows like a ghost. No sound, no fear. His black armor, half covered in dirt and ash, shimmered faintly under the moonlight. He stopped by a large tree, knelt down, and wiped a drop of blood from his gauntlet. Not his, they never stood a chance, he thought. He looked up at the stars above, now partly hidden behind clouds. Somewhere up there, more would be coming. This was no longer about one colony or a single strike. The alien queen had taken notice, and when she noticed something, she destroyed it. Rain stood and walked again, deeper into the woods, not toward the village, but away from it. He knew what would come next: fire from the sky, machines, death. He couldn't risk the people getting caught in it. He had been here before, different place, different enemies, same war. The past never truly stayed buried that far from the village. In a forgotten canyon surrounded by cliffs was an old bunker. Rusted steel doors, vines covering the entrance, and a large human insignia still barely visible. Black Sun Unit, Earth Defense Corps. He placed his hand on the scanner. The machine buzzed, scanned his DNA, and then slowly the doors opened. With a low hiss, the lights flickered as he stepped inside. The air smelled stale and dry, untouched for years. He walked past empty weapon racks, cracked computer screens, and old posters hanging loose on the walls, pictures of soldiers, quotes like, "Humanity never kneels." He entered the command room. A single chair, a large round table, and a map of the galaxy flickering on the screen. He sat down and pulled off his helmet. His face was marked with age and war. Not old but tired. The kind of tired that lives in the bones, not just the body. He activated the console. System. Online, a robotic voice said, "Search, Black Sun survivors." Status, the screen blinked. A list appeared. Names, faces, most marked in red deceased, a few in yellow missing. But 2 names glowed green. He leaned forward, still alive. He uploaded a signal. A coded message. It would travel through hidden channels, bouncing through abandoned satellites and forgotten human outposts. Message sent. Now. He waited. Across the stars, on the edge of a dying moon, a figure stood watching a blackened sky. She was human. Eyes sharp, rifle on her back, scars running down her cheek. A small beacon on her wrist blinked. She looked down, read the message once, and whispered, "Rain." Without a word, she turned, mounted her hoverbike, and vanished into the dark. Back on the Queen's warship, alarms rang again. Another ship had gone silent. Zelthara stood before a large screen, her long cloak dragging behind her like smoke. The reports were getting worse. Scouts missing. Fleets disabled. No survivors. The name kept returning. RAYN. Not just a man. Not just a warrior, a symbol. She had read about him once. An elite commander from the last Earth War. Said to have held the line against 20 alien races for 7 days without backup. Said to have destroyed a star cruiser with a single strike. Said to have died decades ago, but legends, they never stay buried. Her advisor stepped forward. We believe others may be joining him. Survivors from the Black Sun Unit. If they unite, it will not be an easy fight. The Queen stared at the map. Her empire had crushed planets. Broken alliances, but now there was a storm gathering. One man had started it. One man walking alone, leaving only fire behind him. Why do they always come back? She whispered, "Because we never finished the job?" She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "No, because we never understood them." She raised her hand. "Ready my personal ship. I want to see this ghost for myself." "But my Queen," I said, "ready it." She would go herself, not just to destroy, but to see. To look into the eyes of the man who stood alone against her empire and ask one question: why? Rain stood outside the bunker now, watching the skies again. He could feel something shifting. Not just war. Destiny. He removed a piece of metal from his pocket. Small, round, worn from time. A photo pressed inside. A woman. A child. He closed it slowly and put it back. They had taken everything once. They would not do it again. He walked forward. Into the night. Into the war that was coming. Alone for now. But not for long. Because legends never walk alone for too long. And when they rise again, the stars remember. The Queen had never set foot on a battlefield. In over 30 years, she didn't need to. When you command an empire with just a whisper, wars fight themselves. Planets surrender before her ships even arrive. Races kneel, civilizations burn. And yet she found herself now preparing for a journey to a small, dust-covered planet most of her commanders couldn't even name, all for one man, one human. The thought made her angry. And curious, inside her private chamber, her armor was being fitted elegant and deadly, made of obsidian-colored scales that shimmered like stars. Her attendants moved quietly, sensing her rising tension. "You do not trust your soldiers?" One dared to ask. She stared at him for a moment. "I trust them to follow orders," she said coldly. "But I do not trust them to understand legends." Far across the galaxy, in the same hidden canyon on Varian 9, Rain sat sharpening a blade. Not because he needed it, but because it helped him think. He could feel the shift in the air. Something was coming, no, someone. He stood, walked out of the bunker, and climbed the ridge where he could see the valley below. The village was silent now, evacuated 2 nights ago under his orders. The people didn't understand what was coming, but they trusted him. That was enough. Above him, the sky cracked open, not with an army, not with fire, but with one ship, sleek, black and silent. It hovered like a shadow. Then it descended slowly. Into the valley, he narrowed his eyes. Not a fleet. A visit. He slid the blade into its sheath and made his way down. The Queen stepped out of her ship surrounded by 6 royal guards. Each one taller than a man, cloaked in plasma armor. They were quiet, alert, ready to strike. But the land around them was still. No sounds, no wind. Just heat and silence. She walked forward, her long cloak dragging behind her like a trail of night. She scanned the horizon. Nothing. Then she saw him, a lone figure walking across the valley toward her. Calm, unarmed, covered in dust. Ray and he stopped 10 paces away. For a long moment, no one moved. Birds flew overhead. Dust swirled around their boots. Finally, she spoke. Her voice soft but sharp like glass. "You're not what I expected." "You expected a monster?" Rain replied. "I expected a corpse." He smiled slightly. "Many have." The guards stepped forward. One raised his weapon. Rain didn't flinch. "You shoot first. None of you leave this valley alive." The Queen raised her hand, and the guard froze. She studied him closely now. His armor wasn't new. It was old, scratched, worn by time and war. His eyes were calm, but not cold. There was no fear in them. No hate either. Just wait. "So," she said, "you are the last of the Black Sun." He shrugged. "Last?" "I checked, but you never know." She circled him slowly, eyes sharp like blades. "You're just one man. Most things worth remembering start with one. Then let me remember how you fall." She drew her blade curved and glowing with a faint red pulse. Her guards stepped back. This was a challenge, not an execution. Rain didn't reach for a weapon. He just stood still, eyes locked on hers. "Still think I'm a myth?" he asked. She lunged. Fast, faster than expected. Her blade cut through the air like lightning, but he moved with the calm of a soldier who had danced with death before. He stepped aside, turned, caught her wrist, and twisted not to hurt her, but to stop her. She stared at him in shock. He let go. You fight like someone who's always had others bleed for her, he said quietly. Not someone who knows how it feels to lose. Her pride flared. She struck again, faster, angrier. He blocked again, and again, until finally her blade dropped and he stood behind her, hand on her shoulder, whispering in her ear, "This isn't your empire anymore." She breathed hard, not out of pain, but out of confusion. No one had ever fought her like that, not with power, but with control. He stepped back, let her turn, let her stare at him in silence. "I didn't come to kill you," she said slowly. He raised a brow. "Could have fooled me. I came to understand." "Understand what?" "Why the galaxy still fears you. Why one man brings more fear than 1,000 ships." Rain turned toward the stars above. "Because we fight for something you don't understand," he said. "And what is that?" He looked back at her, eyes steady. "Each other." The queen didn't speak. She didn't move. The wind finally returned to the valley, brushing through her cloak, making it flutter like smoke. Then she turned and walked back to her ship, but as she reached the ramp, she paused. "You should know," she said without turning. "Something far worse than me is coming." Rain narrowed his eyes. "I've heard whispers." "Not whispers," she said, stepping aboard. "Screams." The ship rose into the sky and vanished. Rain stood alone again, but the silence around him had changed. She had seen him now. She had fought him, and she hadn't won. Long before his name echoed through alien war rooms. Before the stars whispered of a lone man turning armies to ash. Before even the queen knew who he was. Ray and was just a soldier. And Earth was on fire. It had started with silence. No warnings, no signals. Just thousands of ships appearing above Earth's atmosphere, blocking the sky. The sun disappeared behind metal and hate. They called themselves the Corthan Union, a federation of cold-blooded alien races, united by one belief: humans were too dangerous to be left alone. Earth had no time to prepare. Cities burned, oceans boiled, satellites blinked out. And then, when the screams became unbearable, Earth's defenses finally roared back. Rain was only 24 when he volunteered, not drafted, not forced. He chose the war. He had nothing to lose. His parents were gone. His sister and nurse was vaporized in the first wave of orbital strikes. All he had left was the rage that kept him breathing, and the fire in his chest that refused to surrender. He trained under blood-red skies. He joined a unit. No. One survived long in Black Sun. Special Forces, frontline ghosts. The kind of soldiers who were dropped behind enemy lines and told to either win or vanish. In Rain, he never vanished. There was a mission. The one that made him a name. The one that turned him into the legend. Operation Final Hour. Deep in the Zorith Belt, an alien shipyard was building dreadnoughts, planet killers. Earth Command knew if even one of those ships was completed, the war would end. Not in days. In minutes. Black Sun was sent in. 12 soldiers. 12 of the best humanity had left. The drop was a disaster. Anti-air fire ripped through the atmosphere. They landed off course, scattered across jagged mountains of black glass. Rain's pod smashed into a frozen cliff. When he climbed out, he was already bleeding, but he didn't stop. He walked 40 miles through snow and fire. He found 2 teammates. One had a broken leg. The other had a hole in his chest. Rain carried them both for 6 hours, through enemy patrols, through drone strikes, through burning windstorms that peeled skin from bone. He reached the outer ring of the shipyard, just as the first dreadnought engines lit up. That's when he made the choice, a choice no command would approve. He radioed. Nothing. He gave no speech. He simply moved, snuck into the shipyard using an old mining shaft, fought with silence, killing guards with a broken knife, crawled through acid ducts, breathing poison for over an hour. Planted charges not on the hull, but inside the ship's core, where even alien tech couldn't shield the blast. He almost didn't make it out. The blast threw him 100 feet. His armor cracked. His lungs burned. But when the dreadnought exploded, the sky lit up like a second sun, and Rain stood in the middle of the fire, still breathing. A scout drone captured the image. One man covered in blood and ash, standing alone while a 1,000-mile-long ship died behind him. The Corthan Union saw that photo. They gave it a name, the Demon of Dreadfall. Rain never cared for the title. He just wanted the war to end. But war is greedy. Black Sun lost 10 men that day. Only Rain and one other made it back. Sergeant Lyra Vale, a sniper with nerves of steel and a past as broken as his. She became his shadow after that. Friend, comrade, something more. Maybe. But war didn't give room for maybe. They fought for 2 more years. Until the last day of the war. Until the ceasefire was signed after the final battle. Above Saturn. Earth had survived, but barely. The galaxy stepped back. Afraid. Not of Earth's weapons, but of Earth's will. The survivors of Black Sun were honored. Given medals, offered high ranks, but most refused. Too many ghosts. Too many wounds. Rain disappeared after that. No interviews. No speeches. Just gone. Some said he died in the deep colonies. Some believed he walked into a sun. But the smart ones? The smart ones believed he was waiting. Waiting for the stars to forget. Waiting for the next war. And now the wait was over. In the present, Rain stood before a ruined memorial on the edge of Vireon-9. It was a simple stone, half buried in vines. On it, 12 names. The names of Black Sun. He kneeled before it, ran his hand over the stone, and whispered each name under his breath. He paused when he reached the last one. Vale Lyra, still unconfirmed. No one had seen her in years, but he hadn't stopped hoping. Not yet. His earpiece buzzed. A message encrypted. Familiar code. One word. Soon. His hand tightened. Maybe the stars hadn't taken her after all. Above him, far beyond the clouds, the Queen stared at a hologram of Earth's war records. She had seen thousands of battles, but none like the one Rain had survived. She watched the photo. The one with him standing in fire again and again. He was not a soldier anymore. He was a reminder that some species don't need numbers. Some only need reasons. And humans? They always have one. The stars were not quiet anymore. They burned. They screamed. They remembered. At the edge of the galaxy, where suns died and planets spun in silence, something ancient had awakened. Something even the alien queen did not control. It had no name. No face. No fear. Only hunger. And now it moved. Whole systems vanished. Colonies that once sent bright signals now echoed with static. Spaceports torn open like paper. Warships reduced to drifting bones. The queen watched it from her throne. Her empire so large, so proud, was shrinking like a candle before the wind. She stared at the dark cloud moving through her maps. It wasn't smoke. It wasn't ships. It was something else. Something alive. She knew one truth in that moment. She could not stop it, but maybe he could. On Virion 9, Rain stood in the middle of the canyon, welding the final shield node into place. Around him, old tech hummed to life: relays, drones, and armor from wars long buried. He wasn't just building defenses. He was building a beacon, not of light, but of warning. The transmission was ready. He flipped the switch. Across forgotten satellites, through dying networks, through dust and time, it echoed. To any human who still breathes, to any ally who remembers Earth, the void has come. Stand or vanish. Coordinates attached. He didn't wait for answers. He knew who would come. They came in silence. Old warships, rising from hidden bunkers. Humans with gray hair and lost eyes. Veterans who hadn't touched weapons in years. Others young, angry, raised on stories of Earth's final war. And they all came here to him. Some didn't even believe he was real, until they saw him walk through fire again. Commander Ryan. The man who wouldn't die. He stood before them. Not like a king, not like a god, just a soldier. And that was enough. Listen, he told them, standing under the broken sky. This isn't about flags, or revenge, or pride. This is survival. And if you want to survive, you follow orders. They did without question, because when a legend tells you to run, you run. And when he tells you to fight, you fight. The Queen arrived 2 days later, not with a fleet, but with one ship. She stood in the human camp, unarmed, surrounded by eyes filled with old hate. She did not flinch. I didn't come for war, she said. Rain stared at her. You brought it anyway. No, she said, looking up at the sky. That did. They watched as the stars twisted above. The void had arrived. It came without sound. No engines. No heat, no form, just darkness moving like smoke, but heavier than planets. Creatures made of shadows poured from it, limbs that shifted, eyes that blinked like dying stars. They didn't talk, didn't negotiate, they erased. Rain issued orders like fire. Hold the west cliff. Shield line Alpha, charge it. Snipers on the ridge, shoot anything that crawls. And they held, for 10 hours. 10 long, blood-soaked hours. The Queen's royal guards fought beside human infantry. Drones exploded in clouds of black smoke. Lasers lit the sky like lightning. Rain moved through it all like he was born in war calm. Brutal, precise. His armor cracked, his rifle overheated. He switched to a blade. One creature lunged at him, twice his size. Dripping shadows. He dodged once, twice, then drove the blade straight through its skull. It vanished like smoke. But there were more. So many more. They started falling back. Not from fear. From reality. Even legends get tired. Even myths bleed. Rain stood atop the last defense tower, breathing hard, body shaking. Blood, his and others, dripped from his fingers. Below him, the line broke. The creatures swarmed in. The Queen appeared beside him, her armor cracked, one arm limp. We fall today, she said. He shook his head. No, he said. We buy time. For what? He didn't answer. Instead, he tapped his chest plate. A light blinked, a signal, from orbit. Above them, in high atmosphere. Something massive came online. Not alien, not void, but human. A last weapon from the war. Hidden. Forgotten. The solar lance. A satellite cannon designed to break moons. Rain had reprogrammed it. His voice echoed through the coms. Everyone brace. The sky turned white. A beam of pure solar fire shot down from above, slicing through the center of the void horde. The ground shook. Mountains cracked. Creatures screamed, then disintegrated. For one moment, they won. Silence. Only the crackle of broken coms. Then cheers. Then tears. The humans had done it. Held the line. Again. But Rain didn't cheer. He knew better. That wasn't the end. It was the warning. Later, in a quiet field filled with the dead and the dying, Rain stood beside the Queen. Her crown was gone. Her cloak burned. She was no longer royalty, just another survivor. You could have left, he said. I couldn't face what comes alone. You still might have to. She looked at him. You're not staying? I never stay, he said. She nodded slowly. Then asked the one question that had haunted her since the beginning. Why do your people fight like this? Like every second matters? He looked at the graves. Then at the stars. Because every second does. Asterisk, the fire was small, but warm. It crackled in the center of the ruined camp, casting flickering shadows on the broken walls and shattered helmets that lay nearby. Soldiers, human and alien, sat in silence around it, not as enemies, not even as allies. Just survivors. They didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. The battle was over, but the war had only changed shape. Commander Rain stood just outside the circle, watching the flames like they were alive. His armor was damaged, Chest plate cracked, helmet dented from something with claws. His hands still shook just a little from the fight, but his eyes, they were calm. The Queen stood opposite him, her back straight despite the deep cut across her side. She had refused medical treatment until all her guards were seen first. Strange, Rain thought. She had once ruled like a god. Now she stood like a soldier. They hadn't spoken since the solar strike, until now. She stepped forward, her voice low and quiet. "You should rest." "I'll rest when I'm dead," Rain replied, staring at the fire. She tilted her head. "That's what makes you dangerous." "No," he said. "That's what makes me human." A silence stretched between them, filled only by the sound of crackling wood and distant wind. Then the Queen spoke again, slower this time. "I never understood your kind. You break, but you keep moving. You lose everything, yet still fight for more. Why?" Rain didn't look at her. He just breathed out. "Because if we don't, who will?" She nodded once, and for a moment, her mask cracked. Not her face, her pride. "You saved my life today," she said. "I never thought I'd say that to a human." Rain finally turned toward her. "And I never thought I'd fight beside a queen." They didn't smile. This wasn't friendship. Not yet, but it wasn't war either. Something in between. The next morning, the decision came. A council. Not of kings. Not of generals. But of survivors. Human leaders. Ex-soldiers, alien defectors, and colony voices met inside a half-collapsed bunker to decide what came next. Rain sat quietly near the corner, watching. The Queen stood at the front. She wasn't giving orders anymore. She was offering something else. A hand. "We cannot beat the void alone," she said. "My empire is crumbling. My army's scattered. But my people still breathe. If we fight together, we might survive." Some humans murmured. Suspicion burned in their eyes. "You enslaved a dozen worlds," one woman spat. "Now you want mercy?" "I want survival," the Queen answered, calm. "Even gods kneel in storms like this." The room fell quiet. Then someone asked what everyone was thinking. "What does Rain think?" All eyes turned to him. He stood slowly. Every step echoed. He didn't speak with fire. He spoke with truth. "I watched this galaxy burn," he said. "I watched friends die because we couldn't trust each other. And now, something's coming that doesn't care about our flags or history or blood. It just wants to erase us." He looked at the Queen. She met his gaze. "If she wants to stand with us," he said, "then let her stand." No cheers. Just silence. The kind of silence that means something's been decided. Later, Rain sat alone in the canyon, polishing his old rifle. The sky above was dull and heavy, filled with ash and memory. He heard footsteps. He didn't turn. "I thought you'd be gone by now," he said. The Queen sat beside him on a stone. "I thought you didn't talk much." "I don't." A pause. She looked at the weapon. "Your people used to terrify mine." "We still do," he said. She gave a rare smile. A tired one. Then softer. "Do you hate me?" Rain blinked. Then shrugged. "I don't have the strength to hate anymore." She looked down. "I killed thousands, maybe millions." "I know. And yet, you saved me. I didn't do it for you. Then why?" Rain's grip on the rifle tightened. "For the people you still command," he said. "For the ones who didn't choose this war. And maybe, for the ones you could still save." The Queen looked away, but her voice was firm. "And if I fail again?" Rain finally looked at her. Cold, steady. "Then I'll finish what I started." That night, something strange happened. Music. From a small radio salvaged from the wreckage. An old Earth song. Scratchy but clear. Others gathered around it. Humans, aliens, even one of the Queen's guards. They didn't dance. They just listened. And for a moment, just a moment, they weren't warriors or weapons. They were alive. The next morning, Rain climbed the ridge. He stood above the camp, scanning the horizon with binoculars. Something moved in the distance. A ship. Old. Human-built. He tapped his earpiece. Incoming contact, unknown ID, power levels rising. The Queen appeared beside him. Yours? Maybe. The ship landed, hard dust flying everywhere. Rain waited, then the ramp opened. A figure stepped out, tall, armored, rifle slung over her back. Her voice crackled through the dust. Took you long enough, Commander. Rain's eyes widened. For the first time in a long time. He smiled. Lyra Vale, he said. Still breathing? She asked. Still breathing? She asked. Barely. She walked forward, not with anger, not with tears, just with purpose. Let's finish this, she said. He nodded once. Together. Asterisk, the stars were dying, not all at once, but slowly. Like candles in the wind. In every corner of the galaxy, worlds had gone dark. Cities swallowed, memories erased. The void spread like a sickness without a cure. A shadow that did not conquer, but consumed. And yet, on one forgotten planet, in a valley scarred by fire and war, lights began to rise. Not from ships, not from weapons, but from people. People who refused to kneel. Rain stood before the gathered army, if you could even call it that. Humans, aliens, smugglers, traitors, pirates turned patriots. Scientists holding rifles they had never touched before. Children of old wars, sons and daughters of lost empires. No one had uniforms, some didn't even have armor. But all of them had that look in their eyes, the look of those who had nothing left to lose. Beside him stood Lyra Vale, sniper, strategist, survivor. She hadn't seen Rain in years, but they stood side by side like they'd never been apart. And just behind them, wrapped in her black and silver cloak, stood the alien queen. No crown, no throne, just quiet strength and a blade on her hip. Rain's voice rang through the cold morning air. I won't give you lies, he said. We're outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched. We are the last breath before the dark. He stepped forward. But you know what I've learned about humans? He pointed toward the hills behind him. We breathe deeper when we're dying. The army didn't cheer. They just nodded. Because truth doesn't need applause. Void came like a storm. Black ships with no windows, no engines, no markings. They dropped into orbit like rocks falling from heaven. No formation, no plan. They didn't need one. They were death. But this time death met resistance. Rain led the charge. Lyra took the high ground, sniping creatures mid-air. The Queen commanded her elite from the cliffs, coordinating movements like a battle artist painting in fire and blood. And when the voidlings poured in silent, many-limbed, ever-shifting Rain met them with steel. He moved like the stories said, faster than fear, stronger than doubt. He was legend. Yes, but not because he couldn't. Die because he refused to. The battle lasted for hours, then days. The skies turned black from smoke. Explosions painted the night like fireflies. Bones cracked, screams echoed, machines fell. Men screamed, blood red, green, black soaked into the ground. But they held. Somehow they held. Until one day. The void did something it had never done before. It spoke. Through every speaker, through every helmet, through every comm device, one voice, ancient and cold. You cannot stop what has no end. The Queen's face darkened. It's intelligent, Rain nodded. Good. He stepped forward and shouted into the radio. Then listen closely because this is our end, not yours. And we choose how it's written. The final wave was the worst. A single ship 10 miles long descended slowly, blocking the sun. It opened in the center, revealing something massive. A creature, no face. Just arms and teeth and light that bent around it like gravity. The void heart. Rain stared at it. That's it. That's the source. Vale looked at him. So, what's the plan? He turned to the Queen. She nodded. We strike its core. Together. Together, Rain agreed. They moved. Lyra and her snipers drew fire, clearing a path through the broken terrain. Drones flew ahead, mapping the inside of the beast-like ship. The queen and her guards carved through the outer shell, blades glowing. Bright, Rain went in last, not because he was slow, but because he always watched his people go first. Inside, it was quiet. Two quiet walls pulsed like veins. The air was thick, hard to breathe. The sound of their own heartbeats became louder than any weapon. Then in the center they saw it, the core. Alive. Moving. Feeding. Ray, and raised his weapon. Lyra, charge it. She slid the explosive pack into position. Suddenly, the floor cracked open. The core reacted. It formed a creature from itself, humanoid, huge, glowing, almost like it had studied Rain's face and tried to become him. The fight was brutal. Rain was tossed across the room. The queen stabbed the beast only to be thrown against a wall. Veil shot it through the eye. It kept coming until Rain stood again, broken ribs, blood in his mouth. He whispered, "I've died 100 times." He pulled a blade from his boot, but never in the same war. He ran. Jumped. Drove the blade straight into the creature's chest through the core. Behind it, a pulse exploded outward. The creature screamed. The ship shook. Rain grabbed the detonator. Veil's voice echoed, "Rain, no!" He smiled. "Legends don't die, Veil. They just end stories their own way." He pressed the trigger. From the ground, the army watched the void ship crack apart in the sky. Light shot through the clouds. Then silence. Then ash. Then the sun, clear and whole again. Rain's body was never found, not completely, but pieces of his armor rained from the sky like falling stars. Veil carried one piece, a shoulder plate, with her forever. Queen had a statue built. No crown. No weapon, just a man standing tall, watching the stars. Years passed. The void never returned. The queen rebuilt her empire, but ruled differently. Her ships protected, not conquered. When asked why, she'd always answer the same: "I met a human once. He taught me fear, then he taught me courage. Then he gave me peace." Veil became a teacher. She told stories not of war, but of choices. Children asked her, "Was Rain real?" She'd smile and say, "He was more than real, he was human." And somewhere, far beyond what sensors can reach, a ship drifts quietly. Power. Low. Systems quiet. Inside, a man sleeps in stasis. Waiting. Because some legends don't end, they rest until the stars need them again.